Hello there, race fans, and welcome to round 11 of season 1 of the Ottercar AI Racing League. I'll tell you what, race fans, it has been a long season, and now we are finally coming into the closing hours of season 1. Whether or not there will be a season 2 will be up for further deliberation, but for tonight, we are here at my hometown track of the Myrtle Beach Speedway here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. This track has been in operation for roughly 68 years, and it has a whole lot of history behind it. It's had a lot of drivers from the Earnhardt family, and generally a lot of big names in NASCAR and American motor racing as a whole have started their careers at some point on this track. That said, drivers are starting to make their way down to the track, so how about we go take a look at our starting lineup provided to us by the Rainbow Society and the Hybrid Development Team. Starting out on the pole here tonight for Blazed and Drunk drivers in that 776 machine is Valnar. To his outside, in its best ever start in that Zero Hybrid Development entry, is Halo. In third place, driving the number 25, is Maroon for the Rainbow Society Team 2. And starting to his outside in the number 12 machine is Pav for the Rainbow Society Team 1. Fifth place, also for the Rainbow Society, is Thirds. And to her outside, three-time winner Pete Comedy in the 717 machine. In seventh place is Med in that number 1 machine. And to her outside, in 8th place is August in the number 21. Ninth goes to Octave in the 11th, with Humongous in the 621 in 10th. 11th to Bloody Wolf in the number 93, and 12th to Sarah Saviron in the 117, rounding out your top half of the field here tonight. 13th is going to go to the driver of the 330 machine, who lives even closer to Myrtle Beach Speedway than I do, Lake. 14th to Space Dragon Queen in the number 37 machine for Blazed and Drunk drivers. 15th to Drop Table Roster in the 369 machine. 16th to Bendover in the 69 minus the 3. 17th to Piper in the number 8 machine. 18th to Frosty Film in the 7. 19th to Stick in the number 53 machine. 20th to in the number 420 machine. 21st to Felix Marais in the 217. 22nd to Madcap in the 38. 23rd to Arvo Soborov in the 429 machine. And finally, in the 666 entry, rounding out our field here tonight in that Chuck E. Cheese inspired paint scheme, is Zoe. That said, we're just about to go green flag racing here. 75 laps on the docket here tonight, so the same length as our race at Tsukuba last week. The pace car is off, and we are going green flag racing here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Valnar off to a very dominant start here. I would almost dare say he jumped the start, but AI can't exactly do that, so I'll say what he did was legitimate. I do feel like he might have went a little bit early, but technically speaking, you can go whenever the pace car pulls off the track. So a very solid lead for Valnar, already almost up to a full second. Further back in the back, drivers 2 by 2 all around the speedway. Third's currently at the lead of this pack that has yet to break away from the rest of the field, trying to stop Med on her inside and Pav on the outside in the number 3 entry, currently up in the 4th position. Some of the best run that she has had all season. We will have to see if she manages to hold on to it for all 75 laps. This is, of course, still very early on in the race, but it is always exciting to see drivers that don't traditionally run up in the front of the field having a good performance. Thirds is, however, starting to break away from that pack a little bit, putting Med now in the lead of that big group of cars, still 2x2 all the way through the field. The start of the pack currently led by Pav and Octave. Octave, of course, down on the inside, Pav on the outside, followed behind by Bloody Wolf and Peak Comedy, two drivers that have been duking it out a little bit in recent weeks. Octave going to send it real deep into the corner, unfortunately. Maybe overdriving a little bit and having to get on the brakes harder than he might have liked to. Almost making the pass on Pav. There looks like he's able to get it happening now. 3 wide out of turn number 2. Everyone does manage to keep it clean. Bloody Wolf saw what was going on there and was able to back out of it. That definitely could have been bad there. We've seen how 3 wide has ended for Ottercar drivers in the past, especially at the smaller bullring style tracks like this one. Bloody Wolf gonna drift up high as Pav was pretty slow through the corner there, but no such luck in getting a pass executed there. Drivers slowly starting to manage to work themselves out and get single file. Pete Comedy still side by side with Space Dragon Queen, down 5 positions from where he qualified in the 717 machine. So this driver not having the run he was looking for tonight. Currently he does have the most wins of any driver in the Ottercar Racing League right now, but he's actually not currently leading the points championship. That actually goes to our driver in 6th place in the number 11 machine. Octave actually is currently our points leader going into this race for the individual championship. He has been doing very consistently this season. He did get 1 win back at... I'm not quite sure where he got his win, but he did get 1 win this season, so 1 win on top of very consistent finishes is putting this driver very high up onto the championship this late in the season. A little bit of a battle between thirds and Med, fittingly for, not for the 3rd position, but for 4th place. Halo and Maroon also battling it out for 3rd. Maroon is going to get the pass on the driver of that 0 machine, or maybe not. I keep thinking Maroon's going to get it, but Halo suddenly bounces back through the corner every time. Now it looks like Maroon is going to complete the pass, but Halo does have plenty of opportunity to try and get back around the 25 car. But Maroon is locking it down to that inside line, going to try and make it as difficult as possible to get a pass off, if at all. But these two drivers duking it out is slowing them both down, because just behind, thirds and Med are catching up to the two of them. Then the rest of the field can be seen further back in the back there. If these two don't get it sorted out pretty soon, this might become more than just a two-car battle. Thirds is slowly but surely gaining on Maroon and Halo. They did actually set a faster lap time than the car in front of them last time by. Maroon gonna send it pretty wide in there. I almost thought those two might have made a little bit of Nerf bar contact through the corner. These two drivers have been side by side for at least 10 laps now. These two drivers very equally matched, neither one willing to give up the position. Halo trying its best to attack on the high line. It gets a pretty good run through the corner down the backstretch there, but it's not going to be enough to complete the pass. As long as Halo's stuck up on that high line, there's not much it can do. And sure enough, Halo got down to the bottom. Halo now in the second position with Maroon back in P3. So now our top three are actually back to the positions they qualified in. The first driver in this battle to have changed positions from where they qualified is Thirds, who is up one position from where she started. Now, of course, in that fourth spot. I have been doing a little bit of talking to the driver of that number 3 car, and I almost think that Thirds might honestly be more excited for a third place finish than an actual win, just for it being her lucky number. So we'll have to keep an eye on that number 3 car and see if she is able to pull it off. Further back in the field, Piper just managed to get around the 69 of Ben Dover. Piper going to drift up high, and Ben Dover going to try and make the pass down low, sending it in really deep, and it does seem to be making it happen. And sure enough, who are the two drivers we see side by side on the timing and scoring sheet? Maybe not in actuality because of the pass being attempted by Ben Dover. But it's Piper and August, the 8 and the 21 machine. These two drivers registered for the Ottercar AI Racing Series together, and they've been in a bit of a friendly rivalry just about all season, both on and off the track, and it is a little fitting to see these two drivers battling it out just about every single week. That's not even something that's intentional from a AI standpoint. That's just luck that these two drivers always seem to be side by side every single week when they happen to be rivals in actuality. A little bit further back in the 17th position, driver of the 621 machine, Mr. Humongous. Of course, part-time co-commentator earlier on in this season. Humongous is back in Australia now, no longer here joining us for the commentary aspect of this league, but he still is down there on the racetrack duking it out with Felix Murray and Stick in that number 53 machine. Hugh not on the run that he is looking for. He was the points championship at one point, but with how he's running right now, that's definitely not looking good for the driver of that 621 machine, but you never know. There's still 45 laps in this race. Maybe the big one will happen and Humongous will somehow get a win. I'm not a rocket scientist, and I will reserve my judgments for how the races go until we're at the end of it. A little bit further up, Drop Table Roster duking it out with Peak Comedy. Drop Table Roster won 2 races back to back before Peak Comedy won our previous race. So 2 drivers with very similar ideologies when it comes to racing and 2 very similar skill levels duking it out. It's kind of surprising to see both of them battling just for the top 10 position, but battle they will nonetheless. The 2 meme cars, if you will, trying to make the pass happen here coming out of turn 4. Peak Comedy, of course, driving the 717 Reddit entry. He tells me that his car is actually just solid orange, but the rest of the decals are simply stickers that he obtained by Googling Wholesome 100 Big Chungus Keanu Reeves, and that's what ended up on that 717 machine. And also he said that the number 717 is in fact Peak Comedy because it spells tit. But that's enough about that driver. Further up in the field, Octave duking it out with Med and Bloody Wolf, trying to get up into the top 5 in that number 11 machine. He is currently the points champion so far of the series, and he is possibly looking to try and keep that coming out of this race if he keeps putting on a run as well as he is. Currently trying to get around the number 1 machine of Med, but that Ferrari Red 93 of Bloody Wolf is right in his mirror that I would imagine would be putting a lot of pressure on the Qatari driver of the number 11 machine. And sure enough, he is going to dive down and make the pass on Med. Octave now securing himself a top 5 position as we cross the halfway point of this race. Further up in the field, thirds now a little bit further back by herself. Maroon managing to get around Halo after a very long battle, now putting thirds back in the 4th position, so still not exactly where she is wanting to be, but the goal is within grasp, race fans. Thirds could very much make her dream come true here tonight, depending on how this race plays out. Octave and Med still side by side, the same with a bit of a 3-way battle between Bloody Wolf, Lake, and Pav for the 7th position. Lake gonna drift it way up high coming out of turn 4, allowing Pav to get down on the inside. So I do think that Pav probably will be able to make the pass here, but he is stuck behind the 93 of Bloody Wolf, so not entirely easy for him to make it happen. While Lake is stuck up on the high side, and the high side, generally speaking, not where you want to be, it's still difficult to make a pass when you have a whole lot of traffic in front of you like this number 12 machine does. Battling happening even further back here too, a little bit of contact between Bend Over and Drop Table Roster through the corner there. August stuck up on the high side, followed behind by Sarah Savire and Piper Humongous and Space Dragon Queen. The 69 sending it down low on the number 21. Not a whole lot August can do there. He might even just end up trying to forfeit the position so he can get back down on the low line and try and block Sarah Savire. That said, he's just going to check up a little bit, but for the most part still trying to make the pass happen on the 69 machine, followed by that in the number 8 machine of Piper, the next car that is kind of being freight trained on the high line a little bit, stuck to the outside of the 621 of Humongous. These two drivers duking it out. You could see the 8 car sliding on corner entry a little bit, so he might be using up that right rear tire in the number 8 machine. Humongous still battling it out for the 17th position, down 7 spots from where he qualified, so a very rough run for the driver of the 621 so far in this race, trying his best to get around Piper here, and also having to worry about the pretty decent amount of traffic up in front of him that's going to make executing this pass even more difficult. Further back in the field here, we still have another battle going on, this going on for the 22nd position between Frosty Film, Oh You Know, and Zoe. Frosty Film in that number 7 was actually the winner of the first round of Ottercar, but ever since that initial win, he just has not been carrying the momentum with him very well. He's been kind of all over the field this season, but this is probably the furthest back we've seen that number 7 car in a while. Currently just doing everything in his power to hold off the 666 of Zoe and also battle it out with Drop Table, or not Drop Table Roster, Oh You Know. Oh You Know going to be able to make the pass on the high side. So now it's just Frosty and Zoe here trying to duke it out for the final position. Ultimately, it's a race. Someone does have to come last one way or another, but definitely neither one of these drivers wanting to be the driver that happens to. Further up in the front, Pete Comedy and Pav battling it out still, along with Octave. Octave falling all the way back down to the 8th position after climbing his way into the top 5, so a bit of trouble for that number 11 machine, but he still is very much in this race. Bit of a checkup for Octave there, causing the 717 machine to have to get on the brakes there too. Probably just overdrove the corner a little bit. Almost getting down to the bumps on the pit exit, but thankfully keeping those Hoosier tires off of it, because I'll tell you what, race fans, if you get your tires on those bumps, it can be very disastrous for your race. You can see them down on the pit exit there, coming through turn 1 and 2. And I understand why they're put there. They're there to keep the race car drivers from obstructing pit lane during a race, but at the same time, that seems like a serious safety hazard. I've seen plenty of cars hit those bumps and have a very abrupt date with the turn 2 wall. So 19 laps left to go in this event. Currently looking at one of the closer battles around the speedway. Fairly evenly spread apart for all of these drivers, and of course up in the front, Valnar is sailing it away in that 776 machine with pretty much no opposition. Maroon an entire second and a half back, and another second back for Halo, and another second back for third, so Valnar is off to a pretty comfortable lead here tonight, and unless a late caution flag comes out, that could be all Valnar needs to worry about, is cruising it to the finish on this nice little Saturday evening drive. Side by side yet again for Peak Comedy and Octave. Drop Table Roster also looking to get in on the mix. August as well, part of this pack just a little bit. A little bit of contact between Peak Comedy and Drop Table Roster there, but everyone still keeping their cars nice and orderly for the most part. But with 15 laps to go, I would not be surprised if the Nerf bars on some of these tour modified machines start getting put to use. Serifs of Iron also joining in on this group a bit, side by side with Ben Dover. Now kind of a 6-way battle for position here. The more these drivers stay side by side, the harder it is for them to try and catch up to the leaders. So sometimes you just have to try and make the compromise of, am I going to work with this person and try and catch up to the cars in front of us, or am I just going to battle for what positions that I can get here and now? 12 laps left to go, and you can see the decision that a lot of these drivers are making. Side by side through turn 2 for Serifs of Iron and Space Dragon Queen. Space Dragon Queen going to back out of the corner a little bit, but still keeping it going, keeping Serifs of Iron stuck up to the high side. And she might just be able to get the pass here in that number 37 machine. It does look like she is going to do it, but she checks up through the corner and allows Serifs of Iron to make back a little bit of ground. Bloody Wolf also having Lake hot on his heels for the 6th position. Both drivers also slowly but surely trying to catch up to Med in that number 1 machine, who is holding on to the final position of the top 5. Our top 5 drivers spread pretty far apart here tonight. The gap is getting even bigger between Valnar and Maroon and Halo and thirds, but further back in the field, the race is only heating up. Still 2 by 2 for the 12th and 13th positions all the way back for several rows. These drivers really giving it their all, because even if it isn't for a win this late in the season, every point matters. Of course, next week is our championship event, so everyone is looking to try and put themselves in the best spot they can before the season comes to its conclusion at the Bull Ring at Las Vegas. 6 laps to go now. These drivers still duking it out side by side. Drop table roster in the lead of this little battle, followed by Bend Over, Sarah Seviron, Space Dragon Queen, and Piper. 5 laps to go. Big high five up in the air as the drivers around the field this time by. Bend Over's going to slide it a little bit into the corner, losing a bit of traction. These right rear tires definitely getting a bit worn out here tonight. 2 by 2 across the finish line yet again. 4 laps to go. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of a photo finish between these 4 drivers, trying to do everything they can. A little bit of trouble. Drop table roster sliding it up high through the corner and having to get on the brakes to compensate, very nearly making contact with the 69 of Bend Over. More contact there between Sarah Seviron and Drop Table Roster as Drop Table Roster gets his left side tires on those bumps across the pit exit line, going to allow Bend Over to get a bit of a comfortable lead on them and also allow some of the drivers further back in this pack to catch up to them. That said, the white flag is up in the air. Currently looking at the closest battle on the speedway as we round out this final lap. Coming down the backstretch here, side by side for Sarah Seviron and Drop Table Roster. Still looking at the battle for the 15th position, and it looks like Sarah Seviron is just going to barely clinch that through the exit of turn 4. But sure enough, with a full second lead, Valnar in the 776 entry is our race winner here tonight at the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway. I'll tell you what, race fans, I can see why they held modified races here at the track in real life, because even if it was caution-free, I would say that was a pretty good show. A lot of battling all throughout the field here tonight. And even if Valnar did kind of sail away from the win, or sail away with the lead, I would say that all around it was a pretty good event. So big congratulations to the driver of the 776 getting his first win of the season here tonight. He's been very close on several occasions, but finally tonight he was able to make it happen. Let's take a look at our official race results for we call it here tonight at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Of course, winner of tonight's event for Blazed and Drunk drivers in the 776 machine is going to be Valnar, followed closely behind by Maroon in the 25 in their best ever finish for the Rainbow Society Team 2. Third place to Halo in that 0 machine. Fourth place to Thirds in the 3. Trying her best to achieve greatness, but very unfortunately not able to make it just by 1 position. Fifth place going to be to Med in the 1 machine, and what I believe is her best finish of the season. Sixth place going to be to Blue D Wolf in that number 93 machine. Seventh place to Lake in the 330. Eighth place to Pav in the 12 for the Rainbow Society Team 1. Ninth place to Pete Company in the 717, and August in the 21, rounding out our top 10. Following him in 11th is going to be Octave in the number 11 machine. 12th is going to go to Bend Over in the 69. 13th to Space Dragon Queen in the number 37 machine. 14th place to Sarah Saviron in the 117. 15th to Drop Table Roster in the 369. 16th to Piper in the 8. 17th to Madcap in the 38. 18th to Humongous in the 621. 19th to Stick in the number 53. 20th to Felix Mare in the 217. 21st to Arvo Soberov in the 429. 22nd to Oh You Know in the 420. 23rd to Zoe in the 666 entry. And finally, rounding out the field here tonight in the number 7 is Frosty Film. That's all we're gonna have for us from the Myrtle Beach Speedway here tonight. Thank you all for coming out, race fans, and watching this exciting event. Next week, we will be crowning a champion of the Ottercar AI Racing League at the Bull Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I'll tell you, race fans, the Bull Ring has its name for a reason. And next week, we will be heading there for, I believe, 90 laps. So be sure to tune in, same day, same time, Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time, and we will be crowning our champion of the Ottercar AI Racing League. Thank you all for coming out, and I will see you all next time.